Oh, maybe it worked. Hang on. Oh, maybe it worked. It worked. Um, oh, it's only you can hear my. I can. Oh, I can hear me talking. Then I need to add another input. So. I can hear me talking. Then I need to add another input. So. I can hear me talking. Then I need to add another input. So. It echoes shit.
Endless corridors.
It's Zoom that's not working, I think.
But you can hear me on Zoom.
I can hear you. I can hear you, and when I talk, it comes up.
Yeah,
But
I can hear you through that as well. I wonder if I can hear you just now.
okay, talk.
I can hear myself.
Yeah, it's because
On your side.
I switched it to. Oh, maybe if I do this.
You
Okay.
think it's working now?
Oh yes, I do. I switched the speaker to my USB-C thing.
I can hear my guitar. I don't know if it's you speaking now or like. Shit.
I'll clap. Can you hear the clap?
Yep.
Okay, let's see what happens on YouTube. Okay, let's see what happens on YouTube.
I can turn up my.
Okay, let's see what happens on YouTube. Oh. Oh my god.
So looks like your settings are on the YouTube video, Tim.
Sorry?
Your settings window for Zoom might be the settings that are covering our video.
Okay.
On the YouTube.
I think I can hear you though. Yep, I can hear you, okay. We're good. 10 minutes later. 10 minutes? More than 10 minutes. Sorry.
What about 10 minutes?
I was like 10 minutes later, but it wasn't. It was like more than an hour later. Well, not an hour, but since we first started trying to get it up.
It's still a bit quiet. Okay, I just turned my YouTube window of our conversation on mute so that we can talk. But it's still, have you got our YouTube conversation? Have you got our YouTube up?
Yeah.
Is it a bit quiet with me?
Oh, I don't know. You stay there and keep talking.
Fine. I can turn up the gain. I don't know.
You stay there and keep.
I can speak a bit closer. But I thought it might be like listening to you and then listening to my reply sounded like my audio a little bit quiet.
You are quiet. You are quiet, so.
Yeah, so it might be something we can do.
I think it's because you're coming through the Zoom audio device, and that always makes it quieter for some reason.
Okay. Well, here I put my mic up to max, and I can just speak closely to the mic. Yep. Here we go. All good?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Cool. Thanks, Tim. This has progress.
Yeah.
Our first live Ikiguys stream on Tim Bunting's channel.
From now we'll be doing it on the Ikiguys channel though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty successful so far.
Yeah.
We didn't really look into
No,
how to do
I'm sorry. I was a bit too busy.
No, yeah, I guess. I mean, we should. It would have made sense to have thought about it. But it didn't cross my mind. I thought.
Yeah,
Because
just
I know YouTube has an option for like start live stream.
yeah.
So,
I think it'd be easier if you just have your own webcam, but since we're doing it on Zoom, it's a little bit more complicated. But so we're using software called OBS, which you just found, right? You're just like, what's good streaming software?
Yeah.
It looks really good.
It's working so far. We can figure out the minor details
Yeah.
if we go along.
Yeah. This is. Oh, it's a bit of an experiment, right? Well, everything is. But.
Yeah. Well, I thought doing the Ikiguys conversations live would be easier for us because we don't need to go back and review and edit our whole conversation.
Yeah.
And I think like it's for me it's like this is mostly about me and you, Tim.
Yeah.
Like talking about stuff that we want to talk about, or we feel like it's worth making time to talk about these things.
Yeah.
So in that way, I feel like I'm addressing a kind of a desire or a need, and then it's good to see what we can pull out of our conversations and like highlight them and edit away the bits that aren't that useful to listen to maybe. But on the other hand, doing this live means we can just not worry about that so much. It could be more of a free flow kind of thing, and maybe, and also, of course, it's also about if people are tuning in to us whenever. It might be fun to see if we can get people to get involved, and if there's anything that people want to ask or comments. That
they can
conversation ongoing.
Yeah, they can join in.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because that'd be cool, like having it live and having people be like, "What do you mean about that?" Or, can we
Yeah.
talk about this? Or,
What are you talking about?
Although it's quite distracting to keep like a YouTube window open.
Oh yeah, to keep following it. Yeah.
I've actually just found out I clicked on the chat. I clicked on an option called pop out chat. So I've got the chat box open next to. Here we go. Tim says, "Oh hi Nick." So I don't need to keep watch of the YouTube video.
Oh, good.
I've got the chat box there,
Yep.
so I can see if anything pops up. Sweet. Okay, so shall we start?
Yeah.
Honban.
本番やるか
Conversation.
やるかやろうぜ
It's been almost greater part of the year since our last bunch of videos, our first season of the Ikiguys podcast.
Yeah.
So I messaged you about this yesterday, thinking about what kind of questions could I put it into to make it a bit more clear. And so I wrote down what was your original intention for the Ikiguys, and has that changed in any way? And if yes, what are the changes? But yeah, it could be your original intention, or your intention still now, or your intention now for the Ikiguys. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So for us, so Nathan and I, we're always for a long time. Like, so I've known Nate for 13 years now, since 2007. So, and we were buddies at university, and we just found that we fit each other, right? Like, our opinions and our life experience as well has been very similar.
And our humor.
And our humor is extremely similar. Like, we are quite silly. We can I talk about the assembly that we did at IPC?
Yeah.
Like, one time, so we had like at our university is about 500 or 600 people. We had a assembly once, and Nate and I were the MCs.
How did that come about? How did we end up getting?
I don't know.
Would you like to
I don't.
see the
Yeah.
school assembly? I don't think they should have asked.
No, I don't think they should have, because we were really stupid. Because I remember we ran in, right?
Yeah. We did. We ran in from the back of from the very back of the.
And I remember Kyohei. Like, you're like and now a special announcement, and you're like, can Kyohei Fujita please come to the front? And he walks up, and Nathan, you're just like, Kyohei Fujita, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's because,
Good sport.
yeah, because we wanted to make it fun, right? So that's our sense of humor. It's really stupid, like Monty Python.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Like, we wanted to do something that we're like, what the? This is weird and
Yeah.
insane. This is like, this
Strange.
doesn't belong in the assembly.
Yeah.
We're still like MCing the assembly.
Yeah.
Announcing the next speakers and the events and stuff. But
And
oh,
Greg. Okay, yeah. So we have a pretty stupid sense of humor, and like, when even after IPC, like the friends that I made in IPC we still keep in touch, still, even after more than 10 years, and always go and see each other every once in a while, and because a lot of us have like an affinity to Japan.
yeah, it's unusual,
I think it's quite unusual.
Yeah, like, because
Um,
because was reflecting on this in terms of development from a very young age through to adolescent, teenager, and then young adult, and then going into the world like that. And it seems like there's a pattern, and that finding a peer group is
Yeah.
is a pretty normal part of development. But if you think about peer groups of people in different walks of life, often I think people's peer groups will kind of stay around the same area in the world.
Yep.
And so, like, you know, it's interesting in that sense that our peer group migrated to Japan. Not everyone.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
also we're spread throughout Japan, so that it's also not that easy to catch up, or like, you
That's
know,
right.
just to catch up every week, you know, and go to the local bar or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got that Japan similarity, but also we're kind of spread as well, and like some people didn't migrate to Japan, some people like me have gone back to New Zealand
Yeah.
in the meantime.
Yeah. But even still, like, you and I have kept in contact a lot, and
Yeah.
I have very fond memories of our trip to Aomori
Yeah.
5 years ago, I think, in my red car. That was really cool.
Yeah. Some have a bit of synchronicity.
Yeah.
Strange experiences.
So we have,
It's good fortune.
yeah, and we have just extremely good fortune, and our conversations have always just they've been deep. Like, besides my wife, like, I don't know who else I can talk to about some of the stuff that we talk about. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. and we want to share our ideas with more people, because we think that, well, at least I do. I think that, well, for me, so even in the past 5 years, like a lot of life has happened to me, but I still remain positive, and I think a lot of that is due to our shared outlook on the world, and I think, well, also that because we could talk to each other as well, I think that's definitely helped. But basically, yeah, I want to share this what do you call it, mindset, or this approach to life that we have both found is, so it's not typical at all. It's not like, neither of us are especially career minded, I feel. It was a bit quite go with the flow, which is fine. We're both okay with that. I feel, I don't know if you, how you feel about that, but
Yeah.
but so I think it's my life has been quite unorthodox, I feel, up until now. Who lives in Japan, man? Like, normal people don't live in Japan, so and like, what else? So we've had different experiences, different. We've both had different experiences, and they're both different to the norm. And but from these experiences, at least I think that we can extract life lessons that other people would be able to maybe reflect on, or will be able to even in some cases apply to their lives. And that's what I want to do with the Ikiguys. I want to share these ideas, or this mindset that we've built.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed since we've talked the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another point when you just said there's a couple of points, and then when you just said that hasn't changed, there's another point that I think is worth to bring up, because when I was thinking about our conversation today, I realised that our original intention doesn't seem to have changed from my point of view. But a couple of things that you just mentioned, like you said, we like to have deep conversations, and it's hard to find people who want to explore these kind of things through conversation. So we value that we can have this conversation together, and also if we think deeply about these things, doesn't it's quite difficult to be super sure of yourself if you're thinking about something. Doesn't mean your thinking is correct.
Yeah.
And so even though like maybe you as well, I don't know, but I can be an overthinker, and then think, oh yeah, well, I've thought about it a good deal, and this is the well thought out conclusion that I've come to so far. But I think the real value in this conversation between me and you is just another perspective, and another person who's willing to make the time because they see value in talking a lot of shit. But that's just one way of looking at it. It's not necessarily a lot of shit, and obviously we see that it's not. It's very valuable to spend this time, and so on one hand, I think we can kind of understand where we're coming from, because we have a tendency to maybe think along similar lines. But on the other hand, we are able to provide just a different perspective, just to be like, maybe we're like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Can you explain that more? Or,
Yeah.
you could be like, yes, I feel the same way, except applied to my personal experience, it looks like this, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so that brings another dimension to what we're talking about. And why we can just talk about this kind of stuff, privately.
Yeah.
And we have.
Yeah.
So why record it and stuff is because I would hope that this would be like a model of just two two average guys with unique experiences, just like everyone else has their unique life experiences, but trying to make sense of life and
Yeah.
and then reflecting off each other to see how those things make sense from each other's perspectives and kind of building an understanding in that way. So doing it live or no, doing it recorded, yeah, is a good way to share that. I think it's something of value to share, at least just to put it out there.
Live is much easier.
Yeah.
So
Really.
I've done 100 radio shows, and the 100th episode we did live, and it like in Japanese you say atuma. It just in the time it takes to say it just finished like it was before you know it we had already finished.
Is that what atuyuma means?
I believe so.
Ma.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe so.
Okay. That makes sense. Oh, yeah,
so for those who are learning Japanese, so atuyuma means in the before you know it in English, but yeah.
And then toyu means to say.
Yeah.
And then ma is like in that
Duration. Yeah.
And the duration of saying it's done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, another point from what you just said before is something about trying to understand, make sense of life experiences, and talk about philosophy, or talk about our approach to understanding experiences and a way of living our lives. And
yes.
so, and then you said like this. You said this. And that's quite difficult to find out what is this. So it's like a life philosophy, or some key connecting thing that is underneath, or deeper, kind of more foundational to what we're talking about, along what lines we're thinking. So one easy way is just to think of the Ikiguys. So the Japanese concept of Ikigai is one example of a type of underlying thinking that we can use to make sense of our life experiences. And there'll be heaps of other terms like Stoicism, Zen, the kind of experience that you might have in nature that is beyond words.
Yes.
Just being alive in nature. And but I think I just want to say that because if you want a word for it, you can have some words, but it's not really about the terminology, because we're trying to understand through our conversations. So we're building an understanding, not just substituting our. It's not necessarily a struggle, but we're trying to chew through the ideas together and trying to have a real communication, so we kind of are on the same page. And I don't want to substitute that process for a word that we might have a different idea of what it means. We might have a slightly different definition. So I think it's much better to be in the process of figuring out what things mean, our different approaches to life, and how those approaches manifest in the past and future decisions and things like that. So, and then one more point is like you just put and about you think it hasn't changed, our original, no, not our original intention, something like along those lines. Something hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Do you want? What was it? What could you say hasn't changed?
Oh no, the intention of doing the Ikiguys, of being an Ikigai.
Yeah. So my questions to start this conversation were like, what was your original intention, and has that changed in any way? And if yes, how has it changed? And so, just to start the conversation, and then I also looked at some old documents that we had from earlier, and
Yep.
I found our Ikiguys podcast description,
Yeah.
and I'll just read it. Just a very short paragraph. It says, "Beyond functioning adequately as members of society, discovering and working towards what it means to be an individual in society, to really be yourself, is a very obscure and challenging task. It's much easier to fit in and not stand out than to bravely stand tall independently. Despite this, finding out who you might become and working towards that is a truly worthwhile lifelong pursuit. In this series of regular conversations, Nathan and Tim share experiences, knowledge, and practical tools in regards to this pursuit. Through our conversations, we aim to maintain a process of thinking together about how we as individuals can understand ourselves better and what we can do to further our personal development." So I read that and I was like, oh,
That's
it's just
yeah,
the same.
yeah.
The intention is the same.
That's
for
right.
me.
Yep.
Like, I was like, if I went to try and write my current intention for Ikiguys,
Yeah, it'd be very similar.
couldn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
Original description. So that's quite good because, and it kind of links into, let's say, Ikigai. What makes you feel alive? Like, what is your purpose in life? What's your calling? I think it's good to see where you've been at different stages of your life and see if you can find a connecting line that your interests have usually or often circled around a certain grouping of your interests that are related to, might be health,
Yep.
might be music,
Yep.
might be a certain type of science, and so anyway, so this is just an example of like I can see, and I can feel that, like, I can feel what I'm interested in and then what I like to bring to Ikiguys now, and then when I went and read that description, I'm like, oh yeah, it's so relevant, it's so
Right.
on point.
Yeah.
So the line we're following, for me, it sits well with me at this moment.
Yeah. I was just listening and yep. That was quite succinct, the description. I think it was quite well written. I'm pretty sure you wrote it, and then I was like, change this, and then you did it, and it was like, done. And it's interesting because it hasn't changed. Because you've had something big happen in your life, right, in the past. What?
Yeah. My boy Noah is 7 months old.
Yeah.
Just over 7 months old, so had a baby.
So I think
Other stuff. Yep.
because part of the reason why I write my blog every day is so that I can have something for someone else to reference. Maybe my children, or I don't know. And I think by doing this, like, Noah's going to really appreciate it, I feel. Because, yeah. I just remember my dad, like, I just, when I was like 15, I think, my grandfather died, and I went to his funeral, obviously, and I found his memoirs, and he had written a lot about his experience, and when you're reading it, you can you feel their personality, or you can feel their presence through their words, and I wanted to emulate that, like, and so, and I also wished that my dad had done something like that, but he hadn't. And so that's why I wanted to, like, it's one reason why I wanted to write my blog, is so I can, like, leave behind something just in case, or something that people can reference, like because we live these lives, right? But not many people, like, and when we live these lives, we have these realizations that can benefit more people than ourselves, and I think it's great to share that. Well, that's what books do, though, right? Like, books are a way of expressing deep human experiences, in a very visceral way. But I think that by doing this conversation as well, we can do that as well. So yeah, we're hoping to help people. Yeah.
And do you think it helps you yourself by trying to think about things that you think are important to think about, and also produce your own thoughts and write them down?
Definitely.
Does it help you?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. It's fun. Like you can, like, I've nearly done it for 2 years. So I started on the 1st of January 2019, and the blog, and then, so I've nearly done it for 2 years. And you just read back on stuff that you've written before, and you're like, oh, that's right, I was thinking that. And then just like what we have done, just like what we've done right now, you've brought back the original description that we wrote, and we can have new insight on that, on our previous self as well. We get to add to it, because that's what life's about, right? Like just learning and then adding to previous things that you've learned. It just keeps going. Yeah.
And I thought about this, like beyond my personal lifetime, generations into the future. And I've also thought the opposite as well. So imagining, like, as if my ancestors could be around
Yeah.
to see what am I making of my life
Yep.
at the moment.
Yep.
And just thinking about those kind of things is not easy, because it's kind of like shining a bright light on your the way you live your life, and
Yep.
all of your flaws, and your shortcomings. But and that's really hard, and sometimes you try and move out of that light, just because it's a bit uncomfortable. But I think it's worth it, because your descendants,
Yeah.
generations into the future,
Yeah.
are real, whether they're directly from you, or whether they'll be like, the human race, so
Yeah.
many generations down the line. It'll be like, if you've got records of the kind of struggles and challenges that we faced in this particular time in the world, and what we thought about it, and what we continued to think about it, or what we changed in our thinking, and as a result of finding out, improving, or maybe coming back to and maybe adjusting
Yeah.
what we thought.
It's
'Cause
quite.
on the other hand, sorry?
So it's quite amazing that we are able to do this. I think we're probably like the first generation that is able to record stuff like this live on YouTube easily. I mean, so it would have been possible in the past, but now, well, you bought a microphone. I have a microphone. That's all we need, and we can do this. I think it's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
if we tried to do it 20 years ago, it would be too expensive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is really amazing. Like, I just thought, so for example, many generations ago, it might have meant building a house of stone, where you might not be sure, but after many centuries, or at least 100 years or more, some of these structures are still standing beyond your lifetime. And so if you were conscious of that, you might be thinking like, well, this is going to benefit people beyond my lifetime, and it might give you a sort of a special feeling about the activity
Yep.
that you're engaging in.
Yep.
That it's not just about you, but it's beyond you as well.
Yeah.
And then I was also thinking about planting trees, that kind of thing as well. But yes, but with this technology here, this is like, we don't have to do any super hard work except for buying the equipment and making some time. So, hey man, Quinlan, what's up, bro? Thanks, man. Thanks for your comment.
Yeah, he's entirely right. Yeah. He's entirely right.
That's alright. We're at first time we're balancing these things. Turn this really loud to have the other guy. The other guy's voice is super loud. Yeah, I've got my gain up as high as possible, and got my mouth right next to the mic. So yeah.
Maybe. Weird. Okay, you should be able to hear me now, but then you can't hear.
Why couldn't you? Why won't you be able to hear me?
Oh no, we can.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's
See
better.
how it is.
Sorry about this, but
It's all good. Yeah, we're learning. And man, thanks heaps, Quinlan.
yeah, thanks, man.
That's awesome to get feedback straight away, because we could be doing this for ages.
Yeah.
And when the only Tim is audible, people will be like, "Oh man, Tim's voice is too loud." Oh,
Yeah.
I'll just listen to Tim on a normal audio.
Is there a way to like reduce the sound of coming from my microphone? I don't know. Thanks for the comment. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm just looking to see if there's a way to turn up my mic.
Because I can see the decibels, and when I talk,
Yeah.
it's quite high. It's like going up to like 20, and then when you talk, it's like really low. I wonder if I can separate the channels.
No.
Can you say something?
Something.
No, that didn't work. I'm not sure.
Hey. Yeah, we'll be able to sort it out though in time.
Yeah, so Quinlan just added a note. He has no idea how to do that sort of thing. Dude, neither do we. We downloaded this software called OBS. It's what do you call it? Open software. And yes, I don't know, because I have to use Zoom to add Nathan's input. So maybe I wonder if there's another way. I'll have to think about it. I really appreciate the comment though. Thanks, Quinlan.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Yeah. Quinlan, have you seen his YouTube, Nate? I think I told you about it.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
He's a really cool guy. I really want to go.
Hey Tim, is my sound getting louder and louder now?
It's very loud.
Is it? I turned it. Oh.
It's very loud.
I just turned it. Oh, what? As I'm speaking, anyway, I tried to turn it up on my end. We'll see.
Oh no.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I might have been able to get it a bit louder.
You
possibly.
did. You did. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It just means I have to be careful about making mouth sounds other than speech with my mouth really close.
Do you know there's a podcast? It's called "Business is Boring." It's about New Zealand businesses. It's really interesting. It's really good. and the guy, the host, he breathes through his nose, and you can hear it the whole time. Shit, it really bothers me. But
Okay.
sorry.
So, we'll see. We can do a bit of research afterwards to boost up the mic sound on mine and maybe balance it out for both of us. Or yeah, we can review this. 50 minutes started streaming 50 minutes ago, so maybe like around the 47, 48 minute mark.
Yeah.
I turned up my microphone, but then it automatically adjusted it. As
I can turn mine down. I can turn mine down.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So, yes, I think mine just turned down. Hang on a second. Oh no, it's about the same level. Hello? Hello? Oh, mine, I think it turned down. Hello? Yeah, it turned down. Alright. So we should be better balanced right now.
Okay.
Anyway. What were we talking about? The problems with live streaming.
Yeah, there was one. There was that last point about our intention for the Ikiguys, and we were talking about that. But I have a few other questions that we could talk about. Okay, this is a good one. Okay, so what in your life, what topic or what area of thought feels alive for you lately or now?
That makes you feel alive?
Feels alive for you, so it's like it's pertinent for you. Is there something that's quite relevant for you that you've been thinking about lately or now?
So the mountains. So I went to New Zealand for a few months, or a month, got back, then I did 2 weeks quarantine, and then, so I hadn't been to Mount Hagoro for at least 2 months, and then when I was approaching the mountain, this is I think maybe 2 weeks ago, when I was approaching the mountain, I started to feel, I nearly cried. It felt like I was coming home when I was just going to Mount Hagoro. And so yeah, that made me feel alive. And like, I spent like 4 or 5 hours on the mountain. I was alone. That was insane. It was crazy. This is before the snow though. I wish I'd gone when it was snowing. Or there was snow at the top. But yeah, that like reminded me that I now I maybe didn't have this before, but I have like a connection to Deo Sanzan that I never felt before. And like it's like I always say this after Yamabushi training, like I always feel like a reassurance, like if something if I ever need to, I know that I can go back to the mountains. And that, yeah, I have this like in my head now, like going back to the mountains is good. That like, but that I really felt that when I went like 2 weeks ago. I felt alive then. Otherwise, so more and more I've been trying to. I'm thinking too much. I need to act, but I've been trying to make videos on YouTube, and that like, I don't think it's the fact that it's YouTube. I think it's the fact that I'm just creating stuff. Like that helps. That makes me feel alive. Like it's challenging, and it's a good challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, and so creating. And just yesterday, I met this lady. Her name's Manami Okazaki. She's a Australian. Okazaki. Australian. She's an author, and she's a journalist originally. And she was really cool. She she gave me one of her books, but it's downstairs. But she writes like she loves tohoku.
Yep.
And she has written like books on kokeshi,
Okay.
and
What's that?
they're like wooden dolls. About some of them are really short, some of them are really big. That you'll see.
Yeah.
Like I think if I showed you, I'll see if I can get a picture. If I showed you, you'd know exactly what they are. They're actually I can show you the book as well. I met her yesterday. Let me just minimize the screen. So this is what kokeshi look like. They're dolls, wooden dolls that are really common all over Tohoku.
Can you share your screen?
Yep. I don't know if that'll work. Oh, it'll work for you, but can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what kokeshi look like. And yeah, so she's written books about kokeshi. She's written books about Japan's affiliation, Japan's love of cats, and she's.
Yep.
I think she said she was writing one about dogs at the moment. She's just a really cool journalist, and yeah, I got to meet her yesterday, and she was like strongly urging me to write books, and like I've really thought of a few ideas like Shojin Ryori on the Dewa-sanza, or
Matryoshka.
or
Nakamura-san says kokeshi dolls look like matryoshka. The Russian dolls that are like stacked inside.
right.
Hey, thanks. Hey,
Yeah, they do. They look very similar. Yeah, thanks, Mr. or Mrs. Nakamura. Yeah, and so I talked to her yesterday, socially distanced, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I was like, maybe I should, because I've been writing books. I've been writing a guide to the Dewa-sanzan for probably 2 years now. And just haven't. It's just sitting there. I've got more than 20,000 words. I need to do something with it. And then also Master Hoshino, our Yamabushi master, he's written a book and I've translated it. I've translated like about 60% of it. Like I did like a really, really raw translation, and yeah, she was like, contact this publisher and you can maybe. She said it's because it's a translation. It might be pretty easy to get published, and that makes me feel alive. Like I'm actually doing something, not like just going through the motions. Like creating stuff. Creating stuff really helps make me feel alive. And more recently, like I've been thinking of for YouTube doing exactly what we're doing right now. So I've been thinking of doing conversations like this with not just you, like even in Japanese, because there are a lot of Japanese people that I've had really, really cool conversations with in Japanese, sometimes English, but I know a lot of interesting people, and I want to share their stories as well. And so, and then because we haven't had this connection because of COVID, so we've been having to be apart from each other. But I think like having a conversation like this might be a really fun and good way to still stay connected with people, but also to share their thoughts and ideas. Yeah, that's what's been motivating me recently. Can I ask about you?
Cool.
What makes
Yeah.
you feel alive?
Um,
Or what was the
well,
question? How did you word it?
like a topic that makes you feel alive. I just thought it was an interesting way to ask a question because, like, um, as opposed to a topic that's interesting for you, or that you've been thinking about lately, which surely, that's there might be a lot to say there. But like in the same way that when you go into nature, you really experience something beyond. You can feel it in your body, and like I think it's a good. It's one way to think about a decision. Like if you've got a fork in the road, and one way you might be feeling like, oh, it's obligation, or it's safer, or it would be better for whatever reason. But the other option is maybe not so clear about where it will lead, but it sort of makes you feel alive, a deeper part of you.
Yeah.
And for what reason? Surely there's all kinds of reasons, and that might be good to pay attention to why whatever it is makes you feel tingly deep down
Tingly.
inside.
Yeah. Feel inside and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I just thought it's a different way to think about that kind of question. What are you thinking about lately? Man, okay. I don't want to get into a life story. So
Okay.
I've been interested in psychology very much for a number of years. I've been trying to come to my own personal understanding of what interests me about psychology for the last more than the last 2 years, maybe. It's hard to say because it sort of fades back into the
Ether.
the years gone past.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 years. Because I could say 2 years, but actually, since before I met Saya, which was about 5 years ago or more, I can find the roots of the line of thinking that leads me towards has led me along the line of psychology, being interested in psychology. And especially in the last 2 years, and trying to make sense of it myself, and then especially this year, I found that I'm a bit hesitant to continue trying to figure things out by myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one is because I made some mistakes. I overthought some things, or I just went a bit too far without proper grounding.
Okay.
And the other one is I also found some very experienced psychotherapists through a YouTube channel who were able to answer many questions that I had, or also that I didn't know that I had.
Yeah.
They were able to give me some answers that were really grounded, and I felt like, oh well, this is the kind of authority and like long-term experience that I'd like to learn from. And when I found out that I had to move out of my old place, that was about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And that I'd be moving out in December, so just moved to a new place about a week ago.
Yep.
And I was living in the bush.
Yep.
Now I'm living in a place with internet. So I thought I'd like to study with this particular
tool.
These particular people in
I see. Okay. Yep.
of psychology.
Yeah.
In some way, they didn't have any special school, but they were doing like sessions, psychotherapy, like a consultation with them. But I thought, I could talk to them and get some real answers about myself, about my understanding of things. Anyway, that was kind of in the back of my mind, and I thought, I'll pursue something when it comes to December and I have internet. And yeah, they announced a course that they're starting
You
in
have
January.
you have
and
to
it
tell us
worked.
the name of the course. You have to tell us who they are.
Yeah, it's IPSA. It's the Institute for Psychosystems Analysis. They're based in Liverpool in the UK. Yeah, and so yeah, so I applied and passed the first stage, passed the interview stage, so I've been accepted.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very exciting. This kind of thing is something that I could answer. If you ask me what makes me feel alive, because yeah,
That's great. That's really good.
I've kind of found a direction to go in terms of doing it by myself and being like, how can I channel this into especially working with other people in the real world, beyond myself.
Yeah.
And luckily I've got Saya, so if I was doing it by myself without anyone else, I could become a hermit, but yeah, who cares? Go and be
There's always that option.
Yeah, but with Saya or with someone, with a partner, you can really like our conversations here. You can find out, does it make sense? Is it? Do you understand how this might make me feel alive? And
my wife is a real reality check, in a good way. I have crazy ideas, and I'm like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And she's like, this is bad because of this. This is bad because of this. I'm like, oh. Okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? But she helps me keep the ideas in check. So it's great to have someone like that.
Yeah. And so a bit more, a little bit about why my personal interest in psychology and what is IPSA and how does it relate to my interest. I can't speak a lot about IPSA because they're very broad psychotherapeutic practice in helping people at all different stages and levels. But for me, I've been, and this relates very directly to Ikigai, to what we talk about in the Ikiguys, and that is your personal individuation process in becoming yourself over the course of your whole lifespan, and that this personal development will continue to unfold and beyond your biological, you get to a certain age where you're fully formed as physically as an adult man or woman. You might get to a certain stage where you've got a nice career and you've adapted adequately to the world in the social setting. But for me, it's been a question that has been unconscious and conscious at different stages of my life, and it's like, who am I? And what is the me-shaped hole in the world that I can fit myself into?
I love that.
And it's not that easy. I mean, it's different for different people. Maybe it's easy for some people, like if you're an amazing singer and you write your own songs, and it's like you just gotta sing and where you get noticed. But for other people, it might be harder to find out what it is they've got to offer. So just a word, or there are more words about. It's like a word for it is the individuation, and the individuation process of becoming yourself over the course of your life. So what I wanted to, and this is the question that I have, and I want to find out my own answers for myself, and also applicable to people in general. And then you could think about it for yourself as well. Is okay. So how do you find the balance between these two things? So sometimes we have talked about before, doing work, disciplining yourself, and following a line of thought or following a project step by step, making goals and following something through, to work towards a certain goal. How do you balance that?
Sorry, so doing work?
It's just let me. I find it a little bit difficult to articulate it, so I'm using a bunch of different words to describe these two things. So one is, okay, doing the work, and the other one is, how do you find out what work to do? So my concern is,
Excuse me.
we could be settling down too quickly to do some work without actually sensing into what is the correct work for me to
Yep.
do.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
for me, naturally, I'm hesitant, and I tend to, not all the time, but I tend to stand back a little bit, and that means that I don't get involved in the work as much as other people might.
I think I'm similar.
But
Yeah.
yeah. And
I often question like the why. Often, maybe too often. That's a good point. Like Tim Ferriss often says, like, make sure the work that you're gonna do is the right thing. Like, how does he explain it? Like, because people, like, we try really hard at something, but without really knowing whether it's beneficial or not, and so the figuring out whether it is beneficial or not should be the first step.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes the only way to figure out whether it is beneficial or not is to actually do it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's another point. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, what would you say? Yeah.
But how can we figure out if the work? How can we figure out what is the work that's for us to do right now? Because that also might change at different periods of time. But in the moment, lately, how can we figure it out? So I made some ideas, wrote down some things. So one of them is about the original question I asked is like, does it make you feel alive?
Yep. Okay.
If you
Yep.
consider, if you consider,
I love how you asked that. Does it make you feel alive first?
yeah.
Yeah, because it leads into this perfectly.
Yeah, well, that was an original question that I had, and then it led me into what feels alive for me, this particular topic that I'm talking to you about now. And then I started to think about, well, okay, well, if we're just leaning a bit away from doing work and leaning more towards how do you find out what work is it for you to do, what are some things that can help you to figure out what is the work for you to do? And one of the things I thought about was that it makes you feel alive in some way. And so that's an idea. And like I wrote down here, living in your body as a way of feeling alive. Like, I don't know why did I write that? I mean, because you can be up in your head, you know, like
Right. Yes.
overthinking things.
This is a very Yamabushi thing. Very Yamabushi to get out of your head, or like to kind of ignore what you're thinking and then just let your body sense what should be done. Yeah.
And how will it affect the way that you relate to yourself and to other people? So your relationships, if you have a project, if you're trying to think about projects, or you're thinking about work or life decisions, like what kind of effect will it have on your relationship with yourself or with the people around you? And if you can kind of sense into what those effects might be, it might help you to figure out, like, oh, this will have a positive effect. It's not going to be easy, but this will have a positive effect on me and definitely my relationships as well, because I can see it will push me down this certain path, which will make me be more patient, or really seek to understand other people. And so I think that's another key to figure out what might be a good story to follow in terms of work.
Just thinking about this question, So there's a author called Cal. I'm not sure if you've
Yep.
heard of him, but he has a book. I can't remember which book it was. I think it's Deep Work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Deep Work.
Mm-hmm.
Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. I'll just show that. So this is Cal Newport, and this one here, and basically, so he's got a really good talk at Google, and he debunks Steve Jobs. Like, Steve Jobs is all about like follow your passion, but
Yeah.
but Cal Newport, he points out that even people who what do you say? Like it was about job satisfaction. Like people who know what they want to do, and then those who didn't know what they want to do, but they tried something and they found that they loved it. And
Yeah.
he looked at like the difference in job satisfaction, and after a certain period of time, I think it's like 5 years or something, and found that like the job satisfaction was very similar. And so the people that the people that always knew what they wanted to do, they're kind of an exception. But the people that didn't know what they want to do, but they tried different things, is still having the same level of job satisfaction. That shows that, well, basically you have to try something before you actually know whether it's your calling or not. Like, and so, yeah, often giving it a chance is important. Yeah. So like, yeah, I would say for like this is kind of like career advice, right? Like, I think we we should just try stuff rather than thinking about it too much, and
Yep.
see whether we like it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be okay to spend a bit more time on reflection afterwards. This is like if it's career advice for younger people, then I would agree and say like, don't overthink it. If if that's a possibility that you can overthink it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you might be better served in doing the thinking that you need to do to get yourself into a position where you can try something new, walk through a certain door of opportunity, but do it and then engage with it and then like bring yourself into it, like
Yeah.
bring yourself into the work. So it's not just the work that you're doing, but it's you engaged in that work, and then think about it afterwards,
Yeah.
and you can reflect on it and see how it made how it made you feel alive or not.
That's another Yamabushi thing. Like, do first, and then think about what you felt. Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I've experienced and struggled to balance this thing between thinking or not thinking really deeply, but being stuck into a pattern of thinking that I just continued to follow.
Yeah.
And it meant that I made certain life choices based on this line of thinking that I had taken for granted, and it caused me suffering. Not, and this is another thing to really sense into whether it's causing suffering to whatever small level. Like if you're thinking if it's the right course of action to take or not, is it justified suffering? Like, is it really? I don't think it's necessary to go into a situation where you're going to suffer. Most of the time, I'm not sure if it's really. It's hard to validate. I know it's easy examples to be like, if you want to get fit, and you want to stretch and stuff, it's a bit of discomfort, but I think maybe that might not necessarily be the kind of suffering I'm talking about.
Yep.
I'm talking more of like like bad stress
Yep.
as opposed to good stress.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I've experienced that, and lately I've been thinking, and I have experienced myself And one example is meditation. Another example is just going out to nature, being in nature, to maybe bring these practices. And also, I don't want to make meditation and go to nature a story that like people might believe in and be like, yeah, that's the key. It's like what worked for me. It was a key for me. In certain times, maybe not foolproof, fail safe. Maybe it is, but I just wanted to throw that out there. But just trying to get in touch with a deeper nature, a deeper part of myself, my nature, and then I sort of, well, this is kind of interesting for me. This dichotomy between just getting things done, or getting your hands dirty and like pursuing this line of work, as opposed to sensing into what is the right work to start to get engaged in. And I think and just to start to be aware of this dichotomy is a good one, and then to start to try and figure out how you might figure out for yourself what are what might be the right choices for you in terms of work. It's
There's also I can sense it. I'm channeling my inner master Hoshino, but I can sense he will be saying something like, "Make sure that you're still living in the moment. Like, make sure that you're not thinking too far ahead or about the past. So when you're doing it, make sure you're fully there, living in the moment, giving it your all, which is what you said. Yeah. So not too focused on what could be or what was, but focused on what is. Yeah.
So, that's what feels alive for me at the moment, and I, through exploring my own psychology and making mistakes, going too far. Forest bathing,
Yes. Shinden yoku. Yes.
Yoku.
Yes.
Thanks. That's good.
Thanks, R. Nakamura. Shinden yoku. That's basically what I was doing on the mountain the other day. In the cedar forest of Mount Hagura, which is the picture you can see right behind me. Shinden yoku. Don't you just love Japan for these, like, would you say quirky? I don't know if you'd say quirky, because it's only quirky in the sense that we don't have a concept for it in English. But I love how they have, like, Shinden yoku. I love it. It's just like bathing in the woods, bathing in the forest.
Yes. So my confusion, but and I would say like intense, but like measured. Like I've had to be aware of how intense my interest in psychology is.
What do you mean? You don't want to go? You don't want to go too deep? Is that what you're saying, or?
No, I would say I think in my experience I have gone too deep. Into just trying to chase something too much to the point where you might be fantasizing, certain psychological patterns and happenings, and perhaps you've got you become aware of certain patterns, or perhaps you just sort of dream them up because you're interested in them, and so I've become aware of that. That was another factor that made me feel like it would be good to have guidance in this area, and through the content that I've learnt from IPSA up till now, I have they've got some good techniques for actually entering into a deeper state of communication with yourself to find out some what are some real answers to the questions of like what is the work that you are actually interested in, that is yours to do,
Yeah.
yours to pursue. So deeper than just the through. So anyway, we can go round and round. We could keep talking, but yeah, I want to just close that thought from my end,
Yep.
because otherwise I'll just keep talking on
Forever.
and on about it. But that was that's what's come alive for me, and I'll be starting that study in January, and
Yeah.
to see about
What are you going to do after?
Be cool to share.
What do you want to do?
After what?
What do you want to do with the course once you've done it?
Yeah. So my intention for starting this study, and what I hope to get from this study, understandably would be linked to what I hope to be able to do in the future.
Yeah.
And it's all connected to my own personal life story. There's two parts. One part, so man, it's hard, eh? I think I can do it. One part is bringing into people's conscious awareness that there is an individuation process.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or there's something like that.
Yeah.
And for people who have managed to adapt adequately to the world and they're feeling fine, it's good. You enjoy your work, you enjoy your playtime, you have good relationships with people. Yeah, nice. For me, there were some more deeper questions about myself and about ongoing questions about the way that I fit into the world.
Yep.
That I've been able to start to get glimpses of answers to those questions through something that is related to the individuation process, or being aware of a process of unfolding psychological development of an individual over the course of your life. And I think if I was aware of this, not just through reading about it, well, maybe that would have changed me a lot as well, but especially having people around me when I was a teenager, who were not only functioning adults in the society and good people, but that there was something, like, and I've met people later in my adult life where you can tell that there's some kind of deep pattern within the individual that is coming out through the way that they live their life in all kinds of different aspects, just the way that they talk, the way that they interact with people, the art, the creative projects that they're engaged with, their work, and so having met these kind of role models, and luckily not projecting too much onto them in the sense that I want to be like them, but I was lucky to kind of figure out that, like, they've activated something within themselves that I would like to be like them, in the sense that I'd like to activate something within myself and bring that bring my pattern into fruition over the course of my life.
Gotcha.
So the two parts I said is, one, awareness, conscious awareness of this individuation process, and two, to help people to find answers to what their individuation process might be. Yeah. So that's my intention. I will say that also, thanks to IPSA, I've been made aware of this. It's let's say psychological development, and that if you feel like an unconscious pressure to realize yourself, but because it's unconscious, and you're not sure which way to go, or what is this pressure, it can cause kind of suffering, or I feel a lack of meaning in life, and whatever. So it can cause psychological suffering in that sense. But below the individuation process, there are other natural psychological processes that should take place within the life of everyone. So I'm not talking about personal, individual growth, in the sense that everyone is different, it has their own unique human pattern, individual pattern. But I just wanted to say this just to be clear that it's not all about individuation,
Mm-hmm.
and that you really want to be careful about focusing on what is your life purpose. If you haven't, to some extent, adapted to your body and
Mm-hmm.
making relationships with people around you, your family, and it's not that easy because not everyone has the best relationships with
Right.
members of their family.
Yep.
And that can lead to difficulty in relationships with peer groups and
Exactly. Yep.
in society. So all that kind of stuff has to be taken into consideration. Yeah, and it needs to be addressed to whatever extent is necessary before you go and pursue your higher calling.
Right.
And so I don't have scientific language necessarily for this. And it's interesting because this has been my own personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been my expert science that I've gone to higher schools to study.
Yeah.
So forgive me for my own unique way of describing it. And I think it's not
That's what I asked. That's what I asked for.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is real because it's also another one of those things where I look back over the course of my life and see a line of where my interests circle around, and
Mm-hmm.
they have circled around this area of personal development and
Yep.
understanding myself. So yeah, what I hope to do is to learn some tools to understand myself more deeply.
Yep.
Some real tools for psychological understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And practice with myself, practice with people around me, and then get confident to the point where I can help, where I can offer my services to other people who are
Yep.
interested.
Yep.
So that's the plan.
Ah, that's great. Great answer. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I mean, I kind of want you to to use me actually,
Yeah.
if you want.
Yep. Sure.
Shall we finish it then?
Yeah.
It's already been more than 2 hours,
Sounds
so.
good. Thanks, Quinlan, Go North Japan, and thanks, Ara Nakamura.
Yeah, thank you.
Comments. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Nate.
We can talk off camera or another time about how we want to set up the next conversation.
Yeah.
Like we could, like I think you already did, set a date, for the future.
next one.
So,
Yeah.
So people can see a live event is coming up.
Yep.
And we'll balance out the microphones.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. We have to figure it out.
Yeah.
There must be a way. Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and thank you for tuning in, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone. See you in the next conversation.
Yeah. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
You won't be out of what do you call it? Kept in the cold. Okay. So, yeah, let's finish up. And
Do you want to stop streaming and then we can just like talk for like 5 minutes?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
Thank you.